I'm just going to turn this off for a bit. I'm still there though. Don't worry. May I tell you, so Sean is coming like say you get a fight. You understand? And it's gonna be a spiritual battle, but you know, say we're rooted and grounded in the name of the Lord, and
My enemies are after me.
that is it. But you know what? Yes, your enemies will never come nigh. And this
Right,
is
right.
exactly what they want, and
Oh,
they're not gonna win. So, Shan,
hmm.
you went viral with this video.
Yes, ma'am. Hmm.
And this video, it was lit up everywhere on social media. It was on Instagram, it was on
Hmm.
TikTok, it was on Facebook.
Yeah.
And what was shocking was here we were observing this beautiful girl
Hmm.
talking about one of the most gruesome things that you could
Yes.
ever imagine that would have happened to a child.
Yes.
You did such a brave thing in comparison to
Yes, ma'am.
everybody I know that is on the internet that's dealt with this thing. Because
Yeah.
one thing is for sure when it comes to Jamaican people, they
Hmm.
always try to hide
Yes.
what has happened. They always try to
That's
hide
true.
it. So to
Yeah.
see somebody actually come forward and say what took place,
Hmm.
name the person, put their
Yes.
face out there, that was completely impressive. And this was and I'm not being ageist, but the fact that you
Yes.
were a young woman and doing this
Yes. Hmm.
as opposed to somebody that's way up there in age who's probably waited until the person died before they came
Right.
out and spoke about it.
Right.
You spoke about a TikTok pastor
Hmm.
because he was on TikTok, wasn't he?
Yes, ma'am.
Trying
Yes,
to
ma'am.
win souls.
Of course.
Um,
And praying.
and and since your video went viral, this man disappeared. He literally wiped because I went searching for him. I found remnants of him in that I could tell that he was online,
He was there. Hmm.
but he deleted his Facebook, he deleted his Instagram, he deleted
Yeah.
his TikTok. He had two TikTok
Yeah.
accounts, a backup account, and the one that he was active on. He deleted all of them
Yeah.
after you came out. So I am going to allow you, Blooming Shan, because that's the name you go by on social media on all your
Yes.
platforms, to
Yes.
officially introduce yourself to the graduates. And then I am going to load up that video so that they can actually hear it, because I think it's important that we replay it, even though you're about to introduce yourself. So I'm gonna come off screen, but you're gonna still be on. So you have a talk with them while I set this up.
Okay. Right. Well, good night, everyone. My name is Shanice. I go by Blooming Shan on all socials. So I'll just try to do a synopsis until she gets that video together. I just got to the point where I was sick and tired of people telling me how to handle things, how to go about things, how to tell my story. And so I started telling my own story my own way. As a matter of fact, this is the first time I'm talking to someone who I guess is going to ask me to share the story the way they want it to be told. I started telling my story my way. And that's after years. I grew up in Jamaica. This abuse happened in Jamaica. And I went through the different phases of the church telling me how to handle it, family members telling me how to handle it, people telling me who I need to protect by hiding it. And so I just got to the point where I'm like, who am I protecting here? Am I protecting myself? Somewhat, but more than anything, I was protecting the person who continues, by the way, to do. Wouldn't tell who he was. And then the time just came, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just put it all out there. I'm not going to speak of this mystery person anymore like we often see. It's not this no one needs to add 2 plus 2. I'm going to tell all. And so I got up and I told my story. And so that's when I uploaded that TikTok video. I think it was Sunday before last. But yeah.
Okay, so I am going to pull up the video now.
Mhm.
So bear with me a
And his
second.
name shall be called
Okay.
Wonderful Counselor,
This is a man of God.
Prince of Peace.
I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Right,
Also, a
before I
narcissist.
keep playing it, guys, can you actually hear it in the chat? We may not be able to hear it, Shan, but they might be able to.
Okay.
Right? So
Okay.
can you hear the video? Give me a thumbs up if you can, because I want to make sure that you can hear the media source.
Oh, Almighty God.
And a child abuser. Remember this court document?
Oh, hallelujah.
This is not to bash the church. He's been really good at pretending for years. Imagine my surprise when I found out that the man who SA'd me as a child is now on TikTok preaching. And I'm a Christian, blood-bought believer. So do I believe that Jesus can save? Yes. Do I believe that we can be delivered? Absolutely. Do I believe that this man is saved? Absolutely not. On August the 30th, 2009, this man did something similar. We were about to go to court because I wounded him after years of being abused by him. This man showed up at the church that I went to as a little girl, bawling his eyes out, begging for mercy. That was the first time that he admitted to what he did to me. He admitted it to the pastor and to the assistant pastor. One might ask, why would he do this a couple of days before court? Because he was there to manipulate the church, to have them tell me as an underage girl to not talk about what he did to me, to convince me to show mercy because God is merciful. Have I forgiven him? Absolutely. I did that for myself. But I'm here. You know why? Because it's time to expose him. This man has spent the greater part of his life abusing little girls. He started when I was 6 years old. I am in my 30s, and his last victim that I know of was 2.5 years ago, 3 tops. This man went to jail, got bail, and then got out, aligned himself to a church. And then based on my research, he started going on TikTok Live to be a TikTok preacher last year. A lot of you might have come across his page and sewed into what you thought was a ministry. Meanwhile, you're just there helping with the lawyer fees so he can beat the case against the underage child that he abused. It took me years to heal. It took me having a real connection with Jesus Christ and trusting God with my life, trusting God with my heart and my healing to get to this place. I am not okay with the culture that we have, especially in Jamaica and the Caribbean, where we protect the villain and the victims suffer. Young girls in our country suffer every day. They suffer for years. They suffer for the rest of their lives. And then we grow up and wonder why they're so damaged. Here I am exposing a criminal who gets on TikTok Live and prays against crime in a country where he continues to commit crimes. I'm not a girl anymore. I am not afraid. And so I know, I'm quite aware. I prayed about it. I know that this might come with messages and threats, but I warn you, be careful. Be very careful, because the little scared girl that I was then, afraid of the church because I questioned why they didn't see this man for who he is, she grew up to know God for herself. This isn't about revenge. I don't need revenge. Vengeance belongs to the Lord, and I have peace. This is about unturning stones where criminals get to hide under and continue to do these things over and over because no one exposes them. This is about justice for myself and the little girls who had no voice, because now I have mine. This is about exposing who this man is. So when you come in contact with him, you will know to grab your little girls and run. I don't want any harm to come his way. I want him to live a long and full life to pay for his crimes. And I would love for him to be saved and truly delivered. But that does not mean that he will not pay for the lives that he messed up intentionally. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. So before you question whether or not this is an attack on another man, I have receipts. I also have a handwritten apology from this man that I held on to for years. If you know him, let him know. I don't know how many he picked, But when he picked me, he picked the wrong one. Going private on TikTok or blocking me on Facebook fixes nothing. He will either need to come out publicly, admit to what he did, go to prison, or completely go ghost. So now I'll be the watchdog. I am livid because you did not stop. You did not learn because you were not exposed.
I don't even know how you managed to do that and, still have it so together by by your appearances.
Yes.
That must have taken a lot of
Hmm.
courage for you to do. Um,
Yeah.
that's it's just so disturbing to imagine that it started for you when you were 6 years old. Is that right?
Yes. Hmm.
So tell us a little bit about your background. I mean, are you born in Jamaica, raised in Jamaica?
Yeah.
How did all this
Hmm.
start for you?
Okay, so I was born in Jamaica. My father died one day before I turned one. And so when I was 3 or 3.5 years old, my mother met and married. I think I was 4 years old when they got married. And so he was my stepfather. So that's how the predator got into the house in the first place. So
Mm.
grieving wife, hurting, she was left. I was the only child she had. So she was just going through the phases and ended up, at the time, he was a Christian. She met him, he was going to Bible school and the whole works. He was, I think, if I'm not lying, I think he was evangelist. I think they did name him evangelist back then. So my mother grew up in the church. So my dad was also in the church. So of course, when my dad died, obviously the church is expecting she was an evangelist herself. So the expectation was for her to marry a Christian. And so yeah, that was his first entry into her home.
So, he when he came into your lives, how old were you
Mhm.
at the time?
I, I, well, based on math, there's a lot of it that I don't remember prior to when the abuse started.
Mm.
But based on math, I do believe they met when I was about 3.5 years old, and then they got married somewhere about four. Yeah, a little bit right there. So
Okay.
probably the year I turned four or the following year, but it was in that timeline. Hmm.
And he started when you were 6 years old. Now,
Yeah,
was there any particular, and I know this is going to be kind of triggering and a
yeah,
horrific
yeah. Yeah,
memory,
I'm fine.
and if at any point you do not wish to answer, you are also
Yes.
within your right to say, listen, I don't want to go there. But
Yeah.
do you recall the circumstance under which everything started? Like, was it a
Okay.
situation where your mother wasn't there, or?
All right, so the abuse overall started before I turned six. It started with verbal abuse, and then it got to physical abuse. But then the way he did it, I would say he was very subtle when it started out. It was simple things, but I was young, but not too young to know that something wasn't right. So first things first is he pretty much forced me to call him dad. Okay, so we started out there, and then there was also hate. Somehow it's kind of hard to explain, because even though my dad died, my dad had brothers and they were overseas, and they would always make sure I was okay, because their fear was having another man being responsible for me, for it to lead to that. Very unfortunate. But so it started with the physical abuse and the verbal abuse, because he felt like they were treating me like I was some form of princess. So I don't know if this whole thing stemmed from hate, but the abuse started. And then I can remember, I cannot tell you when the first one happened, but I'll tell you this. My mom gave birth to one of my brothers when I was four. And then she had another one when I was 6 years old. And so I can remember one vividly. My mom had gone to the hospital to give birth, and this man was in my bed. Now, he started with trying to trigger, now I know what it was, trying to trigger certain parts of me to, I guess, figure out what part of my body was sensitive. That's where it started. Until I can remember one instant vividly that my mom was sleeping. I think it was. My grandmother was also ill. She had cancer. She was at the house. And he had me in the kitchen. My mom's asleep. Grandma is resting, I guess. And this man was trying to penetrate me in the kitchen. He was sitting on the cylinder. And when he tried and it wouldn't happen, this is somewhere between 6 and 7. I can remember him ejaculating on my thigh, my inner thigh, at that age. I had no idea what it was. But again, I was a very smart girl. I knew something was wrong. I knew based on where it came from that there's something wrong here. But again, I was going through so much at that age, transitioning to this new man. At the time, he was also physically abusive to my mother, physically abusive to my brother, who was only 2 years old. So my grandma is dying. A lot is happening. So at
Yeah.
that point, I knew that this thing should not be on me. And so what I can remember was I ran outside and I turned the hose on and I was a spraying whatever that thing was at the time. I was a spraying it off of me. I was picking bushes and whatever, just scrubbing it. And I can remember thinking at that age, like, I just need to be clean. Whatever that was, I knew it was dirty and I just needed to be clean. And he never stopped. He never stopped. There was nothing that was, I learned something. When people are evil, and I don't think a lot of people understand this, when people are evil, they will do anything anywhere. They will go to the ends of the earth to feed that thirst. So yeah, that's one that sticks out in my mind because of what was on my leg.
Mm, mm, mm. Was there ever a time, Shan, that you told your mother what was happening to you?
Okay, when I turned 7, first of all, with this, I I wish people would understand. So in the middle of everything happening, I also, as a little girl, grieved a father that I did not have. So in my mind, I can remember thinking like, I wish he would be good to me, but at the same time, I already lost a dad. Now, you're 5, 6, 7. Everyone's telling you your dad was an amazing man. You look just like him. Everyone sings praises to my dad. And so in my mind, I'm like, man, I just wish I had a dad. And so I knew I did not want this dad. I wanted my dad. I wanted a dad. But then it was this conflict like, how do I get him to stop? How do I get him to not hurt my mom? Because all this is happening while I'm seeing him physically hurting my mother. And so I'm thinking, do I say something? Will this make them fight more? And then it came to a point where he literally told me he was going to kill my mother. And so at that point, I'm like, so if I tell on him, he kills my mom. I have no parents, right?
Yeah.
So when I got to 7, I was in grade 1 in primary school, and they taught me how to use the red ink pen. And the teacher said to me one day that when you use red ink, then it's some form of caution, right? You shouldn't, because she explained to us what it meant. So I figured, okay, maybe my mom is going to be able to figure out this code. So I wrote her a letter, and I don't know if anyone remembers, but also we had to write like letters when we were in trouble, and you'd have to write the same thing over and over and over. And so I took a paper, I remember it, and I wrote, I hate, and I put his full name. His name is Gerald White, by the way.
Yes.
And I put in full red, I hate Gerald White at front and back in red. And after every line, I put like an
Yeah.
exclamation mark. This is
Yeah.
grade 1. Now, in my mind, I am hoping to God that my mom can read all these, whatever I thought they were, and then she would just know what was happening. She knew there was something happening, but she didn't know how bad it was, because by this she would have known about the verbal abuse, and she would be, trying to ensure that he didn't have to do anything for me. He didn't have to pay for anything. So that was her way of, I guess, protecting, because again, I hate it when people outright say my mom is at fault. This is a woman who just lost her husband at 21 years old. She got married at 20, had me right after. She's 21 with no husband, and now she's figuring life out. She met him, got pregnant right after, and now she has two babies. So you have three babies, and you get a letter like this. At first, I hated her, but I'm like, yeah, what would she have done differently though? So she just thought, okay, talk to my uncles, ensure that he never had to pay for anything. And I guess that was her way. And at that point, I just felt like, okay, well, I said it. She didn't hear me. So guess I'll just shut up.
So in her mind, perhaps she interpreted that to connect to the abuse, the physical,
Yes.
as
Yes.
opposed to thinking that he's doing anything where you're
Yeah.
concerned. So
I'll
you never
interject.
actually,
I did
yep.
tell my grandmother. I did tell my grandmother. So I
Oh,
told her because I felt like it was safe to tell my grandmother because I never saw him attacking her. So my grandma, she had a very, very strong personality. So he
yeah.
would not dare go against my grandma. So I did tell my grandmother. But then she died.
Oh, so
Yeah.
she passed on before she could
Hmm.
actually tell. Oh, oh
Yeah.
dear.
I didn't know how sick she was because I'm a kid. I had no idea what was happening. So I figured I'm
Mm,
going to tell her she's going to fight him. That's what, okay. I thought my grandma was going to beat him up and she was going to take me
mm,
away,
mm.
because she told me she was going to fix it. So I figured if I told her, then it was good.
Yes, yes.
Hmm. Hmm.
But then she
Hmm.
died. Wow.
Hmm.
So, as far as you're concerned, your mother had no idea that this man was SAing you.
No.
And she had no idea at all that he was repeatedly
Yeah.
molesting you on different occasions.
No.
Um, Now, obviously, I would imagine now that's not the same,
Oh, no.
that she now
She knows it.
knows.
Hmm.
Um, just to jump ahead a bit, how
Hmm.
did she react when she first found out?
Okay. At that point, I was a teenager. I was 13 years old when I finally felt like I could say something because what happened before that is they had broken up.
Hmm.
So when they broke up, I saw my mother so hurt that I felt like telling her what happened previously was going to make it worse. So I also carried that burden of if I say anything, it's going to ruin her even more, right? And
Yeah,
so when he was out of the house, I'm like, okay, he's gone. The threat has been neutralized in my mind, and I figured I'm just going to go on to living a normal life. And so when I told her was when they got back together, because now I'm like, okay, being quiet, isn't it? So I was 13, but here's what happened. When I turned 13 years old, they were still fighting. And when I told her for the first time, this man, notice I said in the video, he's a narcissist.
yes,
This man had a story that now as an adult, I think about it and I'm like, I blamed my mom for a while, just so you know. He told my mother that I had a boyfriend and he caught me with a boyfriend. Now to this day, my mom still has not met the boyfriend. But he told her I had a boyfriend and he caught me with a boyfriend, hence the lies. And so it became a whole thing that before I could even say to anyone else, my name was already plastered all over the neighborhood, in the
yeah,
church.
yeah,
Anyone who had ears to hear, this man told them. The stories moved from the most ridiculous. He caught me with the guy. He dropped me off and didn't know it was a guy. I was 13. So when that happened, my mom was trying to do damage control, trying to figure out what parts of it was real, what
yes,
part is it. And then, of course, don't forget now, always blame the kids. She doesn't know what she's talking about. That was so young. She made it up. So there's that. She's trying to damage control to fix all these people coming to her about the story that this man was plastering all over St. Catherine.
yeah.
So,
I got his page, his picture up on the screen now, Shan,
yeah.
so
Hmm.
that we can make it very clear. So, for the
Hmm.
public, and for all of you who are in the chat, what is the
Yeah.
name of this man?
Gerald Gibbs White.
Gerald Gibbs White, otherwise called Brother White. Is that right?
Oh, he calls himself that.
Right.
Got blown up. he would move to another church, brand new, fresh, by the way. I don't think he
Mm,
ever disclosed that he was either baptized before
mm,
or that he was a member of another church. I think he would just go to the churches, tell a whole story, give a testimony, get baptized when there was baptism, and then start fresh. A narcissist in true form. So that's why I
mm.
started the video by saying I cannot blame the church, because a lot of these churches were victims also, because he comes in and he tells a story close enough, but it always goes, people tried to ruin me, someone tried to lie on me. So every time the church confronted him when something happened, he would just move to another church. Right now, the last I know, he's a member of Mark Stewart's church. And based on what I saw on his page, it's the same thing. He joined that church, brand new, fresh sinner,
Mm.
just, getting baptized and starting over. Yeah.
And it's the thing is that, and this is the reason behind my question. By understanding which churches he's actually been, it may give us an idea of how many other girls he has come in
Okay.
contact with.
So I know personally that there were other girls in my church where I grew up that had stories. I know that for a fact. In
Yes,
between, because what happened was when I got to a certain point where I couldn't deal with it, like we can talk about it later on, what my life
yeah,
was like. I kind of tried to put it out of my mind. So, of course, I would hear things like, oh, he's going to a church now in Portmore. Prior to
yeah,
this, exposing him, I never really cared about the details, right? Where he was, where I just cared that he was not close enough to me. So, of course, this info I would have gotten, like, I would hear my brother say, yeah, he goes to a church now in Portmore. Or I'd hear someone say, yeah, he's not there anymore. He's going to a church now in Old Harbor. So those in between churches, I grew up in a church called Miracle Church of God in Christ. That was
mm,
where it started. So when I was 6 years old, that's where he was attending. And then he left. I think he got baptized next at a church in Portmore. But then the in between churches, I don't really know them by name because, again, I was just like, as long as you're away from me, I'm good.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And it's crazy, really, because
Hmm.
there are going to be many people who will say, well, this happened ages ago. What is the point
Hmm.
of you bringing it up? No, this
Hmm.
this was when you were a little girl.
Oh,
It never
sure.
lasts until you're a bigger man. So why you bringing
Right.
it up now? Why you never go tell then?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there are people who will basically victim blame, but also
Of course.
make it look as though you may have been a precocious child, or you may have
Hmm.
caused something to take place where this
Yeah.
man of God was concerned. Now you mentioned that you told your grandmother. Were there any other adult figures that you told as a child that
When I was a
this was
child,
happening
no.
to? Yeah.
When
Okay.
at that age, no, it was just my grandma. And then when she died, I took that as it's hard to explain. I hated my grandmother for dying for years. I
Mm,
don't know how I explained it, how I made it make sense to me, but I hated that woman. I'm like, you chose to die? No, like you were, you were supposed to take care of this. You didn't. And so when that happened, if you talk to anyone who knew me at that age, because now I get a lot of those messages, like especially since the video went viral, people message me and they're like, that's why you were so quiet. I never really
mm-hmm.
said much because I'm like, okay, my grandma, what's the point? What's the point in telling
Yeah.
anyone? And I'm like, I was just like, woe is me kind of kid. I was like,
Mm,
okay, so
mm,
my dad died. First of all, I blamed him. I'm like, you died? So now my mom has to be with this guy who's doing this to me, right? And then my grandma died, and I'm like, okay, so everyone is a failure. Then I was blaming my mom too. Like, how can you not know? I felt like she should know until I got older and I realized, okay, sometimes people hide better than we think. Sometimes
and plus,
they
she was
do a
being
much better job.
abused. She was being
She
abused by
right.
this
So she
man.
was fighting with this man daily. Like I give my mom this though. He was always the aggressor, but that woman was she was going for it. Okay. It was never a case. Let's just clarify. It was never a case where my mom was down under and he was on top of her. he would start it and she's going to finish it. So it's
Mm.
everyday days when I'm like covering my ears, because when you hear the furniture start moving, because my mom, she's like, oh no. So if the furniture is moving, you know what's happening. There's
Mm.
always something happening. There's blood. It always gets bad. So
Mm.
at that point, I'm like, the last thing I want to do is make it get even worse. So when my grandma died, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just sit here and just be silent, like people said. I never said much. Right. So yeah.
So the question I have to ask you is
Hmm.
Shan, when did when did it stop? As in it never happened again after that. When did it stop?
Okay. When I turned a teenager, I became a whole different breed. Okay. I was at school fighting. I was aggressive. I was lippy. So that quiet kid, I got aggressive. I had so much anger in me. So at that time, it didn't necessarily stop. It got less because he realized at this point that I'm more aggressive now. So it's no longer, I'm going to kill your mom and I'm going to take it. It's more now, like one day I can remember I was 14 years old and I'm taking a shower. My mom's not home and I hear a
Mm.
sound, because remember now you have this anxiety, this paranoia, right? Any minute you're just looking over your shoulder like something can happen. So I'm in the shower and I hear this sound. Of course, I pull the curtain. That's He's standing there jerking off. I'm in the shower. Okay,
What?
so yeah, yes, ma'am. So I don't think it stopped until I got to like 15 or so years old. But it became less, because even that, you jerking off with a 14-year-old right, like right behind, that's abuse. And those were the things, like at night I would have to be blocking my door. One of the things that my mom did was that she had a cousin. So in my room I wasn't alone, so I had a cousin that was like a year or two younger than me. My mom's reasoning behind that was like, okay, if there are two of them in the room, then, even because again, remember in all this he's still physically abusive, so she's figured,
Mm.
okay, bring in help, right? So I had my cousin in the room. So even then, it's still, I'm paranoid because now she's 2 years younger than me. I'm thinking, I don't know if she can help. I'm thinking I got to make sure nothing happens to her. So
Yeah.
eventually I just became more aggressive. So I'd say when I got to about 15, that's when I had my first boyfriend. And let me just say, I made sure that I had the worst of boyfriends. All right. I found me a bad one. Okay. I found me a protector for real.
Somebody
And
that would
so
kick his
that's
ass, basically. Yes. If he tried.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So I found my own protector. Since no one else was going to help, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to find me a boyfriend then.
Yeah.
That took care
Yeah.
of it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
clearly it had an impact on you during your years of puberty, as you
Yes.
started to find your voice and develop the strength of character enough to stand up for yourself, however you did
Yes.
that. um
Hmm.
was there ever a point where you confronted him about what he was doing to you?
Yes. And that would be around the same time. I think when I got to 16, that's when, at this point, like I said, I was untouchable, because I'm like, if you mess with me, he's going. So it had transitioned from anything sexual to now straight on physical abuse, to the point where this man was grabbing me in the middle of the night with, I remember one night he had a metal crowbar and he was threatening to push it through me, ripped me up, called the cops. What did the cops do? They came to the house at 2 in the morning, and this man told them I was a bad behaving teenager that needed to be disciplined, and he went overboard. And what did the police do? They went away, spoke to him, and they went away. 2 o'clock in the morning, left me in the house with him. So at that time, I was like, okay, no one's really going to help. Couldn't trust the system. At this point, definitely didn't trust the church. So that finally ended when I was 17 years old, when I grabbed a machete and I chopped him up. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
So you actually physically confronted him, and you did so with a weapon? Where was
Yes,
your
ma'am.
mother when all of this was happening?
She was out. I think she was out with her best friend trying to get some stuff done because at this time I'm 17. One of my brothers is 4 years younger, one is 6 years younger. So we're all home plus one of my cousins that was staying with me at the time. So yeah, she figured, at this point, like I said, it was more confrontations than anything. I knew I didn't want him there, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, when I turn 18, I'm going to leave with my boyfriend anyway. So I'm just like, okay, I just got a couple of months left and I'll be out of here. I figured I'd go to college overseas and I'd never have to see him again. But then
Hmm.
that day, it just got bloody. He attacked me. And again, the threats were very vivid. This time, he threatened that he was going to kill me and my mother and he was going to bury us under the house. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's me or you. So, yeah.
Wow. So when when he saw that you actually retaliated for the first time and so brutally, um,
Mhm.
how much damage did you inflict, by the way? Because you said chop him up, but be
Uh,
specific.
what I heard, because frankly, I did not care. I wasn't trying to know how bad it was. Matter of fact, I thought he was dead. From what I
Mm,
heard, I think he got four. I know for a fact he got one to his hand because I can tell you, okay, I'm saved now. My mind wasn't saved then. I was swinging for the head. That's the truth.
mm,
That's where my mind was at 17.
mm,
I'm like, enough of this. I am done. I knew I'd go to prison. I'm like, if I got to go to prison and he's gone, I do not care. So I know I was swinging for the head. He put his hand up. I know he got one right there. I don't know. I think I heard my brother say that he got four. The details of what happens that day, it was kind of blurry because I was just so
yeah, we
angry.
saw
I was
red.
so fed up. I was just like, no, no more. So yeah, I don't know how many altogether. I know they talked about how many stitches he got and blah 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 blah. I did not care. I had no remorse, nothing. I'm telling you, nothing.
Mm, mm, mm. So at this point, is he still in the church while this altercation took place?
No, 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 no. He left the church because okay, so that's his MO. If he thinks he's in trouble or thinks that he's at risk of being exposed, that's when he aligns with the church. If he feels like okay, that's gone, then he there's no reason to be in the church. So at that time when that
Wow.
incident happened, he wasn't going to church. He was the chief of sinners at that point. It wasn't until after the incident that, of course, he was back in church.
And I'm just trying to understand how the community interpreted this. Did they say you were the rebellious, you were the horrible kid, or
No,
did they
no, he
realize that
did.
something was wrong?
He did. I think the elder people in the community kind of figured something was off because again, I was the quiet girl. I went to school, I went to a really good traditional high school. So what people saw, it never really aligned with the incident, right?
Mm,
They're like, how did she move from she's a church girl? I'm going to church every
yeah,
Sunday with my mother. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not out partying. So even the pictures that he painted of me when I was like 13,
yeah.
people started looking like, okay, something isn't adding up. And so people knew something was up, but they couldn't tell what it was. But of course, the moment he got out, I was this psycho teenager who just pulled a machete and randomly. That was the story that he told the police and everyone else that I just, for no reason at all, I just, yeah, I just assaulted him. Poor innocent
How
church guy.
old how old were you when you finally told your mother?
I told her the details when I was in my teens. That's so when I was 13, I had mentioned before, that's when I told her. It wasn't until this incident that it finally opened up her eyes, I think, because again, at 13, she's doing damage control. She's trying to figure out, okay, what's happening here? I say this, he said that. At this point, they're separating, they're going through whatever they're going through. And so
She's
that's when
already leaving him, basically. So,
right, right. So that's when she's like, okay, my cousin is there to help. She was cautious though. She's still like, watching. She's still whatever. I still blamed her because I'm like, I don't care what she said. No, we're good. I was like, you should have left the moment I told you. I'm not trying to hear none of
yeah.
that. But
And she never
again, that
tried to
took
get him
years.
arrested?
She went to the police station, and that's when I talk about the system failing children in Jamaica, it is no joke. She went to the police station to make a report herself to ask them, okay, what does she do now? What does she do with the information? And the police straight up told her, ma'am, if you want to put your child through that, you can do that. But here's the reality. They told her she's gonna have to recollect everything that happened, and you said this happened when she was 6, and he's going to find a lawyer, and any good lawyer is going to get him off because they're going to say she made those memories up. There's no proof, there's no evidence to test. And they pretty much for an hour told her everything that led her to believe, okay, this is going to do her more harm than good. So yeah.
They were not necessarily wrong, to be honest,
Right.
especially in those days. It's not impossible to imagine that that could have been the outcome, and it would have
Yes.
been more traumatic for you as the person who'd gone through it to
Correct.
have to keep repeating the story over and over again,
Yes.
only to be knocked back and painted as a liar and a rebellious teen. Um,
Yes.
Now, it's good that you managed to tell her, and that she actually tried to do something about it,
Yeah.
but the police discouraged her from actually getting justice. Now,
Yes.
my question is,
Mhm.
during all the times that this was happening, we spoke about whether or not you told any other family members that were adults. Did you
Yes.
tell any other friends of yours that were also
My
children
cousins.
what was happening?
Yeah, my cousins that were there, because obviously I needed them to know. I had two cousins, one stayed for a period of time and then the other one. I needed them to know what happened so they would know to be cautious. So, yeah, I did tell them.
Wow. So you said to them what he was doing to you and told them to be careful so, it doesn't
Yes.
repeat itself, basically. Do you
Right.
know if he interfered with anybody else, any of the other
One
children?
of one of my cousins, the one that left, it never got that far, but she said he did touch her inappropriately. And so she was angry towards him too. At the time, I didn't know exactly why. I figured it was because of me, but then obviously that was also her front so that he would leave her alone. And then one day, her way, I think that was just her way of dealing with it. One day, him and my mom are in a fight in the front yard, and she
Mm.
just ran from, I don't even know where she came from, and she just got in the fight, and she's there throwing. And I'm like, okay, I'm there. My brothers are there. Usually we're just like, oh my God, will they? She's in the fight. When I say in the fight, it was her fight. And then it
Yeah.
was afterwards when I got older, I'm like, oh, that was her getting her lick back. So she
Yes.
didn't feel strong enough to fight him on her own. So she's like, oh, here's my chance. I'm gonna get in. She did get some in too. Yeah. I'm proud of her for that.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'd like to know,
Hmm.
what would you like to see happen as a result of your exposure of this man? And let me put his picture because I want his picture to be stuck in the minds of everyone that's on the audience in the audience. They need to not forget the face of Gerald White. What would you like to see happen as the outcome of this?
Okay, one of my hopes was that other women, regardless of the ages and how long ago it happened, would realize that it is possible to take your power back. You do have a voice. Sometimes it is silenced when you go through certain type of trauma, and I get that because I was silent for years. I wanted one for them to know it's never too late to speak up. It doesn't matter if this person is dead, just talking about it does way more for you than you would even realize. Sometimes it's hiding in the shadows of the shame and the guilt or whatever that allows these men to continue. So that was one. Two, I had learned of a new victim that he was in court with. And I said, okay, so you did this when you were in your 20s, and you did this again when you're in your 50s, which tells me he never stopped. I refuse to believe that you molested me at 6 years old, stopped all this time, and then started again when you're 51. Impossible. So
He
that
didn't
was
stop.
another thing. I was
No.
like, okay, so you never stopped. You never learned anything. And so I'm like, I know why you never learned anything because no one knows who you are. And that's the case for a lot of these abusers. As long as no one knows who you are, you can just walk around and pick a new victim. You can just walk into someone's home and pretend to get with the mother and mess with the daughter. And so I think that incident triggered me a lot 2.5 years ago. I was so angry even at myself because I'm like, had I named this man, had I let people know in whatever way I could have saved this child. And
Yeah.
so that was one thing. I was like, enough of this. And then when someone shared with me that they saw him on TikTok preaching, and then I went and I saw in the bio, man of God, and he said he's praying for healing. That healing word, that got me all the way messed up because I'm like, how dare you? How dare you get on a platform using vulnerable people? And I, no doubt, I bet he was praying over women who probably went through the same things that he caused. And you're on here, probably, I don't know, speaking in tongues, doing what you've been doing, and praying for healing, knowing that you're doing nothing but causing hurt and trauma. That's when I was like, okay, now the world needs to know who you are. Women need to get their voices back, and we're not hiding anymore. Back then, I was afraid. I'm like, try me now, try me now. So yeah, that
Exactly.
was that was it. Yeah,
And the scary part of this is that he's gone into hiding again.
yeah.
And
Actually,
we're
I
not
think he took one of
sure.
my options.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
which was?
because the video I did say one of three things has to happen. You're either going to go away completely off of these platforms.
Yeah,
Because if you're going to go away to hide, hide. People will still know who you are, but don't you dare show your face on here
yeah,
declaring the word of God and claiming to be.
yeah,
You're not going to bring any more heat on the church. We have enough. So that was one of the things I said in the end. You're either going to go away, this money that you're collecting on TikTok for praying over people, it's going to stop. You're going to either vanish, you're going to either publicly admit to what you
apologize.
did,
Yeah,
or you're going to go to prison. Now, the prison part, I had no control over, right? They let him go, by the way. That baby he went to jail for, they freed him over a week ago, I believe. Yeah, they let him go again. So they declared, the jurors declared him not guilty, even with all the evidence. So we have no control over that. So I'm like, okay, I can't control the justice system because he got a really good lawyer. And the poor kid, she's from a poor background. The family couldn't afford the kind of lawyer to match that one. And
yeah,
so he won, typical. And so I'm like, okay, you won in the eyes of the law. The law cannot bully me to expose what is true. And so he might have won that, I guess, that version of it. And I'm like, no, this part, people will never forget your face. So yeah.
yes, that's right. That's right.
Mhm.
And it's very disturbing to
Mhm.
imagine that there was yet another little girl.
Yeah.
And you actually mentioned that there were at least two that you knew of,
Yes, ma'am.
um, where he's been constantly doing this and yet somehow
Yes.
managing to get away with it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
mind you, I had even reported him to CDA. So I did a whole complete report because when they told my mom that this can't be done and that doesn't make sense and whatever, I said, okay, I took it upon myself, went to Duke Street in Kingston where they sent me, and I made a full, I think it was like 3 pages report of what happened. They took, I don't know what they did with it, but they took the report, all right, and so, even with that, even with the report, even with the incident of you attacking me, even with the police reports of me reporting what's happening in the house, and this child, I was told, was put on the stand to
yeah,
relive everything that happened in her case, and nothing a good lawyer can't get you out of. He paid the best lawyer he could afford or he could gather, and he's out. He's out. But one thing that happened, and I don't take it for granted the timing of everything. When I
yeah,
posted that video, I had no idea how soon he was going to trial. I had, when I say no clue, because like I told you, I try to stay away from it. And so that Sunday, I had just come in from church actually. And I'm like, okay, today's the day. I set my light up and everything. I'm like, I'm doing this today. And so when I posted that on Sunday, I didn't know that the following Wednesday or Thursday was the trial date. So he was already, obviously, because this child had a court appointed attorney, because again, if you don't have money, they give you whatever else
That's
is
right.
there,
That's right.
and so she was going to lose. But one thing that did not happen is he didn't walk out just another man hiding in the shadows. He walked out an exposed man, because people, even at the courthouse when he went in for trial, already saw the video and know they knew exactly who was coming in. So he got off from the
And yet,
law, but yeah,
yeah, and yet they still they still found him not guilty. This
yeah,
is the crazy part, you know. It
yeah.
just makes you wonder what kind, as I said, that there's some kind of science this man I work with, because he's been going through unscathed, but how much longer for? Because these things catch up on you. It's only a matter of
Oh yeah,
time.
of course, of
And
course.
you know, you literally almost took his life yourself.
You didn't know. Yeah.
um uh and you know, it's only a matter of time. He's gonna end up with somebody
Hmm.
who is not gonna be, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
missed when it comes to what they
My
hit or
thing
what
is,
they do.
and I think I did comment that to someone, because there were people messaging me, oh, we need to know where he is. I'm like, no, because you finding him and hurting him, I want him to live so he can face all this. That's my desire. I want him to live so he can get on a bus and someone says, isn't that the guy? And someone takes their phone out. Since you want to be a famous TikTok preacher, someone takes their phone out, start recording him, and he has
Yeah,
to live looking over his shoulder, wondering when this is going to go away. The same way his victims had to live, and some are still living. When will this feeling go away? I want him to go to his bed at night, wondering if tomorrow is the day when someone's going to identify him, afraid to approach women because, oh my God, did she see that video? I wonder. I don't want him to die, because dying like some at someone else's hand, actually, if a victim takes him out, it's fair game. But at a random person, it's no justice for the victims, because what happens, you just take him away from, no, I want him to be here, so that when he goes to bed at night, when he shuts his eyes, he sees me pop up like
yeah.
nightmares. He sees
But
me with the victims popping up.
this guy here is fully evil, you know, Shan, when
Yeah,
you
of
think
course.
about it, you know,
Yeah.
because he is not only physically abusive, mentally and emotionally and verbally
Yes.
abusive.
Yes. And he's a
He's a
narcissist. Yeah.
woman beater, he's a narcissist, he's a liar and a
Mm-hmm.
deceiver,
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
and
ma'am.
he's a child molester. All of it
Yes.
in one. At least sometimes when you come across the
There's
child
one
molester,
good.
them they tend to be they tend to pretend to be charming.
No.
But this
No.
guy is a
He's just
full on
horrible.
horrific devil,
Yeah.
deviant
Hmm.
man. There is
Yes.
nothing good in him, but all he does
Nothing
is go
good.
around pretending to be a man
Hmm.
of God.
Of
This is what you
course. Of
call a
course.
transfer of evil spirits. Imagine
Yes,
him
ma'am.
laying his hand on
Yeah.
people to
Yes.
pray for
Yes,
them.
ma'am. Yeah, and he was on with it, because when I went on his TikTok, he was posting days of fasting where he's on his knees and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you better stop. First thing, before I posted that video, by the way, I went on his thing and I'm like, I went with my real page, and I was under every single post that he made, and I was like, yeah, but are you going to talk about the kids that you abused?
Yeah, I
And
saw
he's like,
the
oh, but
screenshots in
yeah,
the video.
yeah, he's like Jeremiah, whatever. And I'm like, what did Jeremiah say about molesting little girls? And he posted, all I do is worship, and I go and molest little girls. I right through the comments. And I don't know if he didn't have internet or what. That was there for a whole 24 hours. I was just like, I had time that day. I was like, you said, what about Jesus? He said something about hiding under the shadow of the Almighty. And I'm like, the Almighty isn't going to hide you after you molest little girls. What about the little girls?
Yes,
I was on
that's right.
Facebook. What about the babies? What about the little girls? Okay, but are we going to address the
And
child
his
molesting?
name
Yeah.
shall be called
Brother White, are we going to pray
Wonderful
about child?
Counselor.
When he
This
saw it,
is a man of
that man deleted me, blocked me with the quickness. He was like, nope, nope.
Oh my
People can't
gosh.
see that he went private first. And then when
Yes.
everyone else started to send him follow requests, he's like, okay, no, I got to go. Yes, sir, you got to go. Yep.
And that's exactly what he deserves. I
Yes.
think you have been extremely brave, Shan. I
Thank you.
think that there are many that would never do what you have done. And I wish
Yeah.
so many more could find the strength of character to actually do it.
Yeah.
because it would make them so uncomfortable. And this has always been my philosophy.
Hmm.
These men need to be uncomfortable. We can't
Yes.
make them comfortable. And
Mm.
too many times we see situations where our very own people, our women, mothers,
Hmm.
allow these predatory men to feel comfortable. And it's in that comfort that you allow access to other
Yes.
children
Hmm.
because your guards are dropped down.
Yeah.
So you're allowing them to mix and mingle in situations where they can access other
Yeah.
children.
Yes, ma'am.
By making them uncomfortable, they are less likely to be in an
Yes.
environment where they will be tolerated around children.
Right.
And what you
Right.
have done here with Mr. Gerald White, remind me of his full name again.
Gerald Gibbs White.
Gerald Gibbs White, Brother
Hmm.
White. What
Hmm.
you've done here with him is that you have ensured that he is uncomfortable.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's
Yes, ma'am.
deserved
Yeah.
because he should not be getting away with the fact that he's
Mm-mm.
not done it just once or twice. He's done it many
He's
times,
been a
several times.
predator. Like at this point, you can call him a serial molester because
Serial molester,
20,
of
20
course.
something to 50 something, that's how many years of access to little girls and young women that I might never know. I will say I got a couple of DMs after the video with people saying, oh my God, like there was one person who said someone did in my family mention him years ago, but I
Yeah,
didn't know how bad it was. And I said, go ask, because maybe she just didn't have the voice to say all this happened, but she just wanted to hint. And she's like, oh my God, like a lot of people, I'd say so far at least 6 people got in my DM that knows him in some way, some form, and has some story about him. So listen, this man has been hiding one little island because he's never left Jamaica. He's just
yeah,
been running rampage through that island, okay? And yeah, no
yeah.
more of it. No
All
more.
right, let's just take a little quick break. I'm just going to remind people,
Hmm.
just in case. Audience, you are free at this point to actually call in if you wish to have something to say to our guests. If you just wish to share something with the audience, the number is +144 7836 329 046. You are free to call in and have your say. We would love to hear from you. So Shan, when I think about this,
Hmm.
it really disturbs me that he's still out there. That's the part that I
Hmm.
don't like. And I know you
Yeah.
said you gave him an ultimatum and you gave him the
Yeah.
option where he could
Hmm.
either choose to be quiet or and
Yeah.
come off the internet, come off social media,
Yeah. Yeah.
or he can publicly
Yeah.
admit what he's
He's
done.
up there, but I can tell you he knows no peace because I think it was last night before last,
Mhm.
someone messaged me and she's like, oh, I saw him out. And she took her phone and she started filming him. And she said that man was running like he was being chased by the cops. Because she said the moment she identified him, she's like, I know you. I know who you are. And so she started to give him his 5 minutes of fame. And for some reason, he didn't want it. He was running. And I'm like, yes, that's it. That's what I want. No peace. I don't care if you really go to God with a sincere heart, because the one thing I know is I can expose you. You can still be saved and go to heaven, but you're not going to be able to hide and continue to hurt little girls. It's just not going to happen. It's never going to happen. So, yeah.
And well done to you, Shan, for actually doing this because I think it's more than deserved. You were extremely brave, like I said. Now, I do have a question in terms of, it's out there now. Everybody knows about it, and I have a question about the aftermath of
Yes.
this. Um,
Mhm.
how now does your mother feel about everything now that it's all out there?
I think she hasn't said it, but I know her well enough. I think she's grieving the fact that she knows that me telling this story reflects somehow on her. she knows that. I think she had to deal with knowing that there are people kind of, calling her, hey, are you okay? And she knows what they want to know because they've seen it. But on the other hand, she's been supportive of this whole thing from the jump. She's like, this is not an innocent man who's going to have his character, destroyed. There's no reputation here. She's like, this is what he has been doing. And so she's like, I applaud you. She said, I wish more women could do this. So on one end, she's happy that I did it. She's happy that it's out there. She's there thinking, yes, expose him. Yes, people need to know. She's actually there trying to monitor to see if there's any new information about anyone else. And she's hoping that he gets to pay like in court. But she's been very supportive, so that means a lot.
Brilliant. I am going to go
Yeah.
through the comments because I'm conscious that
Yes.
the graduates have been putting all sorts in there. And
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
spotted one by Bam Bam Jamaica. Big up yourself, Bam Bam. Bam Bam says, is he the same pastor that had the altercation with Mark Stewart?
I don't think so because he's still a member of. Okay, one thing I need to clarify. I don't think he's an ordained pastor. And I've said this before, and a lot of people don't understand that with TikTok.
Oh,
When a lot of these preachers on TikTok are on TikTok because their actual churches will not give them a platform. So when
yes,
the church does not give them the mic and give them the podium, they get on TikTok and that's where they get their 5 minutes.
yes,
So he's not a pastor in Mark Stewart's church. On
right.
TikTok, however, he gets to be whatever. That's the thing about social media. You can be whoever you want to be. You just need to quote some scriptures that you've probably been studying for 2 weeks and boom,
Hmm.
you're a pastor. So he's not an ordained pastor anywhere. He's a TikTok preacher.
He's a
So yeah,
TikTok preacher, which
TikTok
we all
preacher. Yes,
know
ma'am.
there's a whole lot of TikTok prophets and TikTok
No
preachers that are a
ordained,
bunch
no
of
called
fakes.
by God.
That's
Right,
right.
right,
That's right.
right,
And a
right.
reminder of his name again. Somebody's asking, what is his name? Remind the name.
Gerald Gerald Gibbs White.
Gerald Gibbs White. Gibbs White is a
Mhm.
hyphenated
No,
surname. And no, it's
no.
not.
White is the last name. The middle name is Gibbs. So
Oh, the
when
middle
I
name is
address him, yeah,
Gibbs.
I address the whole government name. So there's no mistake anywhere, just in case there's another Gerald White. So the
And the
Gibbs is the
White
middle
is
name.
spelled
Right. The
right.
White is the
And the
last
White
name.
is
Yep. It's
WHWHYTE.
YT. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that is his
Mm-hmm.
name, right?
Yes.
And let me just go up and see some of the comments here. Rochelle says, Shan, you are brave. I hope your story will
Thank
let
you.
women run away from him.
Thank you.
Andrea asked the question, Shan, are you able to have a relationship now?
Ooh, that's yes, I
Mm,
am now.
yes.
Years ago, not so much. And the thing about trauma is a lot of times when you're going through it, you're so comfortable with it that you don't even realize what the real problem is, right?
Mm,
Years ago, I thought everyone else was the problem. I was like, you're a man, you're the problem. I tell you what, I'll tell you something, Andrea. He's about 5'6". By the time I got to my adult years, I could never date a man that was short, ever, because there are just some things that linger in your mind. And my idea of a man was anything that wasn't him or anything that reminds me of him. So I dated a guy and he drank rum one night out with his friends and he got in and I was so pissed off. I just wanted to fight. I was picking fights for everything because he was a rum drinker. So the smell triggered me. He
mm,
drove a red car when I was growing up. And I remember just when I would hear the car because it had like a heavy muffler.
mhm.
When I heard the muffler, it gave me like, I grew up with anxiety. I had this feeling in the bottom of my stomach. And so growing up, I would never date a man with a heavy muffler, never date a man in a red car. I don't think I ever have because red cars triggered me. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
red car, bad guy. Short guy, bad guy. If you're short, you're evil. And so it took me years to realize, okay, these are trauma responses.
That's
A
correct.
man
Yes,
can't,
that's right.
right. So throughout my adult years, one or two things happened. either I just wouldn't give a man the chance because he reminded me of him in some way, some shape. He does like welding. I've never dated a man who does any form of construction. I'm like, if he's at work with his hands, bad guy. Again, that happened for years. And so either I would do that, shun men completely because of that, or if they were the opposite of him and they were still bad, it confused me. Like,
Yeah.
no, I did everything right. What? You drive a black car. What's wrong with you? You're six. How can you be 6 foot and evil? And so I
Yeah.
went through that for years. I couldn't understand
Yeah.
until I'm like, okay, maybe all men are evil. I went through that phase too, like all of you. And then I have a daughter. Now we have a problem because I'm like, why are you laughing with my child? Why are you buying her
Yeah.
stuff? What
Oh,
were
you
you
don't
saying
trust
to
a
her that
single, yeah, don't trust any man around her.
I'm
Ugh.
watching like if I did ever introduce them, by the way, I would date and I can tell my daughter's probably watching this live and I'd be like, yeah, this is my friend. And she was growing because she's 15 now and she's like, Mom, that's your friend? Yes, that's my friend. What? Right? And so I
Mm.
even got married and my husband and her were so close. He loved that child like his own. And I was always there like, what are you doing? One morning we were at a hotel and she was 5. And he said he was trying to wake me up and I was tired. So she wanted to go to the pool. And I woke up and I'm like, where's my kid? Now I'm
Mm.
calling him. The phone is ringing in the hotel room. I'm trying to kill somebody because where did you take my kid to? So I look over the balcony and I see them at the pool and he's with her playing in the water. I
Oh
put my clothes
gosh.
on and I
Oh,
was
oh gosh. I can imagine how that
listen,
made you feel. Yes. Oh my
I was
gosh.
out I was out there standing like I'm telling you, standing at the the pool deck. I'm thinking 10 ways to kill a man and get away with it because
Yeah.
and she's 5, and this started when I was 6. I was like,
Yes.
it took me years, years. I don't think I ever got over even the relationship she had with my husband. I lived abroad and even then I know like something in the back of my head said this man loves your child and he would do anything to protect her, but something in me was like, just watch him because he's gonna do something, and when he does something, you're gonna go to prison. But it's okay, it took me a while. It took me a while. Now I'm
I
cool.
can
I still
understand.
watch.
Yeah,
I
I can
still watch,
understand
but
that. I can
my
understand that.
relief is she's 15 now and we're
Mm.
very close. And I tell her, even if you're not sure if something is off, I'll help you decide if it's off. So based on the relationship that we have, I feel more chill, but I
And you
still
also
watch
know
her.
that she'll talk to you. She'll tell you if something
Yeah,
happens
and I
to your
tell her
child.
everything. That's the thing. I was very transparent with her about what I experienced, and so she knows. So even the paranoia that I have, she knows. Okay, mom, this is what happened. This is yeah. We're like this for that reason because I'm like, you mess with mine, baby, right? So
Exactly, exactly. I've got
yeah.
another good question here.
hmm
Venice is asking you, have you ever been to counseling?
Yes, I have. I went to therapy on and off for I'd say about 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And have you
hmm
found that helpful, useful? Because you know that we are from a
Yes.
culture that we don't like to tell people we're business. And a lot of time it's
Right.
like, oh, counseling, that's some stranger, I'm not
Right.
gonna tell my
Yeah,
business.
yeah, yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
wants to do it.
No,
What would you
I
say
like
to people
that.
about that? Yeah.
For me, I like the fact that you don't have to stick to a particular person if you don't feel safe with them. That's one thing that I like. You feel free at any point if you don't feel like your therapist understands you, if you don't feel like you're being heard, to switch. You can do that. And so I've done that for years, right? I've done and I'm like, okay, I'm good now, and then I'm out. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not good, but
Hmm.
you can choose who you can tell these things to. And what I love is I'd rather say these things to a stranger if I feel like I'm not healed yet, because a stranger can tell you like different perspectives as opposed to your
Hmm.
friend or whoever who might have some form of bias one way or the other. When you go to a complete stranger, like for me, the first time I went to therapy was in the US. This lady was a white lady. So I'm like, okay, you don't know nothing about me. You don't probably never been to Jamaica. You don't have any bias. And so when I spoke to her, I was like, okay, she's just here listening because she has nothing preconceived to come with. She just has to hear
Yeah.
me out.
Yeah.
And so that for me meant a lot. And then I have a friend, very good friend of mine. She's 80 years old, one of my closest friends. She's been a therapist for over 40 years. So sometimes I kind of like go back and forth. I'm like, this lady told me that. What do you think? And she's like, based on my experience, whatever. So yeah, I found it personally to really help. And then I had to do the work. So
That's right.
therapy alone will
That's right.
not fix it. I had to do the
Yes.
work.
You have to
Yeah.
apply it basically.
Yes.
So Survivor's Hands says sexual assault has no expiration date to tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's basically saying that, if at any time you make the
Yeah.
decision that you want to
Hmm.
take him through the courts
Yeah.
of the law, you want
Yeah. Yeah.
him to face judgment and
Yeah.
consequences
Yeah.
legally, you are within your right to actually do that. But that of
Yeah.
course is a different fight. That's a fight of
Yeah.
the physical
And
realm
I
as
didn't
opposed to the
want to.
spiritual.
I don't want to.
Mm,
Why? It's taxing. It's time consuming. At
mm,
this age, maybe back then when I wanted vengeance, I would have
yes.
been like, I gotta see you pay. I'm at a point now where I'm not gonna spend money and take time because here's the thing. I go through that, and let's just say they find him guilty. This man might be in prison for like 2 years. This whole thing to even get him to a guilty verdict might take 5 years out of my life. I feel like I spent too many years already living with the shame and the hurt and the trauma and the dysfunction that dedicating more time out of that to go through the justice system, especially in Jamaica as we know it,
Yeah.
it's not going to do anything for me. I feel personally that exposing him does more, reaches more because okay, let's say I didn't expose him and I went to court. Okay, he loses and the judge says, "Okay, I give you 6 months in jail." He's going to be out in prison. He's going to be out and he's going to continue because that was still going to be a private case. It's not going to make the news. It's not going to make the headlines. It's not going to go viral so people can see him. So for me, that just wasn't a route that I want to take. I don't want to. I'm busy right now raising my daughter.
Yeah.
I'm more chasing her butterflies. I don't want to take time to go through that, to tell that story. I'll just tell it on my YouTube channel, on my podcast. I'll tell it on
Absolutely.
TikTok.
Absolutely.
That's,
And
yeah,
put his face out there so that he
yeah,
literally has to change countries, and even so it's still going to cross boundaries about what he's done,
right.
but at the end of the day I can understand and I can appreciate where your mind is at when it comes to the
Yeah,
fight. I am a big believer in putting them behind bars forever
yeah,
and
yeah.
throwing away
Hmm.
the key.
Yeah.
And it always disappoints me when the system fails, and it often does.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
your case, all of your predictions, I can't even look at you and say, no, 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 it's not going to
Yeah.
happen. They're going to lock him away. I can't say that
Right.
because I've seen it
Right.
so many times
Over
where
and
they
over. Yeah.
walk. I've seen it
Hmm.
so many times. I mean, even the recent case that we've done where, a popular YouTuber was accused of molesting his stepdaughter. And what happens? The case gets thrown out, and nobody can tell us why. But we all know
Yep.
it's lack of support for that child. We all know
Yep.
that it's about
Yep.
covering it up and pretending as though nothing went wrong when that
Yeah.
child went to school and told a teacher.
Yes. Told it. Yeah. We see it all
So
the time, and then it's that culture that we just hush
exactly,
hush.
we
Hmm.
hush it. You know what I'm
You know
saying?
what's funny? What's funny is if I showed you my DMs of women, older women,
Mm.
the things they've said, the things I'd
Leave
say
it
it's
to God
borderline.
is one of
I'd
them,
say
I
it's
bet you.
borderline witchcraft. Some of the things that they said,
Oh,
lethal. One
really?
told me, yeah, one threatened me that God will silence me for lying, and I'm like, first of
Because
all,
it's
I
a man
rebuke
of
this
God, they
because this
claim.
is giving. This is giving. We do not claim this. I rebuke it. I rebuke you. I rebuke your generations. I rebuke all of them like you. They're a woman like you're a bitter woman. you are bitter because you say you forgive him, but if you forgave him, you wouldn't have done this. Who are you to judge whether or not I forgave someone? And I had to ask one, okay, fine, cool. Let's go by your narrative. Okay, so I didn't forget him. And what? What you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You assume I don't forgive because I exposed him. Now what? And she went quiet because I'm like, okay, that's my point. I'm not here to prove if I have healed or if I have forgiven. That's between me and God. Frankly, I do not care. But the women
Exactly.
in my comments and Jamaican men, of course, because one couple of them told me I was gonna be taken off the earth for lying. And I'm like, here you go, exposing yourself, but carry on, sir, carry on. It's disheartening when you think of the fact that when little girls speak up or women speak up, the first instinct is, oh, she's lying. Whether or not
Yes.
you know this man,
Yes.
whether or not you went through the same thing. No, she's lying. I can't believe it. Yeah,
And the
it's
thing is
sad.
that these may also very well be victims of him as well. It could be, and when I say victims, I don't mean in terms of them being SA
Yes,
victims or
yes.
molestations. I mean
Right.
victims of
Of
his
his
deception.
manipulation.
That's right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Because he's
mm-hmm.
gone and he's, giving them the word of God. He's giving them hope in whatever way. He's
And
addressing their
profilade and
needs
all that.
and
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So when it is
Yeah.
that, they're hearing that the person who they consider to be a shepherd of their soul has been
Yes.
um doing these things,
It's hard to believe.
they
And I
they
get it.
they
I
will
get it.
lash out because they usually people who usually fall under religion and not alongside religion. People who
Yes,
fall
ma'am.
under religion have got a very
Yes.
palpable mind. It's really easy
It's
to
like a cult.
exactly. It's very
It's like a cult.
easy
I
to
had to
twist
break from
them.
that. I'm a Christian and I had to break
Yes,
from under that to
that's
realize
right.
that, okay, being a Christian does not mean following behind a pastor or whoever and what they say. It's about your
Absolutely.
own personal relationship. I had to learn to read the Bible for myself and interpret it for myself because I'm like, y'all been manipulating these scriptures all these years trying to keep me down. Mm-mm. So I'm not going to be their favorite person. I can tell you that much. But yeah,
Absolutely.
had to
Absolutely.
be done. Had to be done. I'm not
Um,
going to be one of those older women doing, mm-mm. No, sorry.
Absolutely, absolutely. Steph B says those women are the ones that will allow their daughter to be SA and tell them they're lying and believe the
Mhm.
nasty men over their kids. Many times this is the case.
Yeah,
You've seen how I don't know if Shan is familiar with my channel and my
yeah,
history on YouTube,
yeah,
but
yeah.
my audience they know the even when I stood up against popular
Yeah.
alleged pedophiles.
Hmm.
The fight that I got was insane. Um,
Yeah.
I got it left, right, and center. And from
Hmm.
the straight, of course, there were other bloggers who were like, leave them to God, stop going on about it, this, that,
I
and
tell you
whatever.
why.
And I'm
I'll
like,
tell you why
what
that
is wrong with
is.
their minds?
Because when you expose something like that, two things happen. The persons like them feel like they're exposed.
Mm,
And so that's going to be triggering because if I'm going to ignore the fact that you're exposing this one, shining light on one is shining light on all. And the same thing happens for the women who are still in silence, who are still mute because they don't feel like they feel dirty. They feel whatever it is that they feel because of what happened. A lot of them buried so far in the back of their minds that you speaking out about it, you're actually triggering their hurt. And so a lot of us, and I say us because I was at that point where if you don't talk about it, then it's not real. If you don't,
mm,
if you're not a part of these conversations, then this did not happen. And so if they can shut you up, then that prevents them from having to relive that. And then also there's another set who have probably covered up before or they've heard things that they don't want to believe. So coming after you, it's usually one of the three.
yes,
I gotta shut
correct.
her up because I can't let her shine the light on me. And so that's
Mhm.
why I believe the same way how if you expose one, you expose all. I strongly believe that if you give a voice to one, you give a voice to all. So it works in the reverse too.
Yes,
Yes,
it
ma'am.
does. It absolutely does. thank
Yeah.
you so much, Shan, for
You're welcome.
you're still continuing along this brave path by even coming out
Yes.
here on YouTube and
Yes, ma'am.
repeating. You're basically giving more depth and layers to the story that you've brought
Yes.
that went viral, and we
Yes.
do truly appreciate any
Thank you for
survivor, because
having
you are
me.
no longer a
Yeah.
victim. You are a
No,
survivor.
man. I'm
You
his
are.
nightmare now.
That's right. You now his nightmare.
Yeah.
You're
Yes.
his
I've
reckoning.
graduated.
Right. And we do
Yes.
appreciate that you have found
Thank
your
you.
voice. You are no longer the
Yes.
silent little girl. And do
No.
not allow the internet or anyone on the internet or anyone in real life to
Yeah.
take that voice away from you, that beautiful voice that
Yes.
represents so many others who still
Yeah.
are struggling to have that voice and that stage and that presence,
Yes.
and to point that finger to say, listen, you did this to me and made me this
Yes,
way.
ma'am.
And when people are in a cage like that, where they're unable
Mhm.
to express what they've
Yeah.
been through, they do lash out. They do,
Yes. And that's why you see a lot of hurting women.
a
Yeah.
lot of hurting women are out there, and because
Hmm.
they're not ready to face it. But you have
Yeah.
faced your demon, and you've made him run away. So that's the great bit.
Yes.
He's run away.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
And yet, just for the record, we'll put him up one more time because I don't want anybody to forget this guy
Yeah.
here. Yep. Do not forget his name, Gerald Gibbs White. That is his name, otherwise known as Brother White. Loves to frequent the church, even though he is
Yes.
not a qualified pastor, or
Not an ordained pastor,
not
no,
an
ma'am.
ordained pastor.
Hmm.
He tends to target vulnerable souls, particularly on TikTok and the like.
Yeah.
So do look out for him popping up under some other handle. Now
Oh,
that he
yeah. And if you
realizes
see
that Brother
him,
White is
feel
gone.
free to let me know. Every new
Yeah,
page, because he'll
that's
probably
right.
try to pop up again when he thinks the heat has passed. But if any of you see him anywhere, just let me know. Find me on
Absolutely.
TikTok and send it to
And
me.
I'm
Yes.
gonna just edit this so that people can actually follow you. So you are called Blooming Shan
Yes.
on
Mhm.
TikTok
On
and
YouTube.
YouTube
Hmm.
and Instagram, right?
Hmm. Yes.
Let me just put that up and make that visible so people can see that. Okay, so you will see that her name is Blooming Shan. You can find her on TikTok. You can find her on YouTube. She also has a YouTube channel. And you can find her on Instagram with exactly that name. Okay. Thank you
It's
so much
blooming dot
again.
shan on TikTok and
Okay,
Instagram, but
so
you'll
blooming
find me
dot
if
shan.
you type
But
it in.
actually, when I searched for
Yes.
blooming shan, it came right up. Both
Oh, yeah,
it
yeah. Well,
came, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So even though
Yes.
there's a dot there, it does come right up.
Okay.
Thank you so much, guys. Drop the
Thank you
purple
for
hearts in
having
the chat
me.
for Shan. Okay, let her know that we appreciate her. You're now a part of the Purple Heart Warriors, because Purple Heart for
I'll be back
us,
over here.
yeah, that's what we call them, the Purple Heart Warriors. We are the people who stand up for the voiceless children who have been victims of this kind of predatory behavior.
Yes.
And we celebrate survivors like you over here on this platform, because
Thank you.
your brave voice shows people you do not have to be silent and you do not have to suffer in silence. Thank you so much for coming out
Thank
here.
you.
And we really and truly hope that that so-called pastor, that so-called man of God, gets what
Yes, ma'am.
he deserves in this life. But
Thank you.
what we can say is you did not break Shan. You did not destroy her.
No.
You did not. You have created a
Yes.
warrior in herself, and you've created a stronger woman who will never
Yes.
allow you to do this to another child. And that is a wonderful thing, a blessed thing. Thank you so much. And thank you, Steffi, for subscribing to her channel. Definitely support her.
Thank you.
So head over to her YouTube and do give her all the support. Big up your nice clean self. And once again,
Thank you so much.
All right. Blessings,
Bye
blessings, and
bye.
we will be in touch. Okay. You can click
All
off
right.
now and
Well,
then I'll say goodbye to my graduates. Thank you so much for
all
joining.
right.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Okay. All the best, Shan. Bye.
All right. Mhm.
Right, guys. Thank you so much, everybody. I so appreciate each and every one of you coming out and joining this live. It was quite alive, don't it? Big up on yourself, yeah? And it is late here. I know nearly 3 o'clock over here saying at the UK. Me want to go to bed. Me tired. Listen to me now, man. My eyes shut down for me. But this story is one that I will never forget. All right. Big up yourself. This is your girl, Head Teacher K, and I'm out. Bye.